Hello, this is the Politics and Letters podcast. I am David Barfield with Jim Livingston, and today we are speaking with Stephen Bronner. He's a Board of Governors Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Political Science at Rutgers University and President and Executive Director of the American Council for Justice and Conflict Resolution, and the former chair of the U.S. Academics for Peace. Author of more than 20 books dealing with politics, history, and culture, his writings have been translated into over a dozen languages. A recipient of various awards, and most notably, he was the recipient of the M.E. Peace Prize from the Middle East Peace Network. And with that, Stephen, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Hi, Steve.
Jim.
I'm freaking out here, okay? And that's why you're on, because we're all freaking out. And we're thinking maybe you got something to tell us that might either calm us down or send us into the streets, something like that. Okay, so here's what I'm really worried about right now. As far as I can tell, we've got this peace proposal from Iran on the table. There's some dispute about whether the foreign minister who published it in Foreign Affairs is actually connected to the regime. But there's been no repudiation of it, as far as we know. Okay, so there's that. There's also the fact that Trump has reissued the ultimatum that in 48 hours is going to rain hell on Iran unless the Strait of Hormuz is open. Okay, so that suggests to me that boots on the ground is now a plausible attempt at endgame by Trump's regime. And I also begin to think that it could be, from their standpoint, from the administration's standpoint, a political gambit that would allow for the declaration of a national emergency, perhaps even martial law at home. And that would then head off the obvious consequences of the midterm elections if they're allowed to go forward. So, so it looks pretty bizarre. It looks pretty dangerous out there. But I feel like I'm just spinning out these things because I personally at least, am feeling so helpless. So do you think that there's any plausibility there? You're the one who studies politics in ways that most of us don't.
Well, I do think the Iran peace proposal is something you have to take one would have to take seriously. But I think one also have to take seriously that this peace proposal is coming out in a context where it's completely unclear what President Trump wants. In other words, this is a very difficult thing to do negotiations if one side has a 2-point peace proposal and the other side has a completely confused 15-point peace proposal. So that doesn't look good. With regard to troops on the ground, is it a possibility? I think you're right. I think it is a possibility. Again, the issue here is it's very tough to predict. And you can come out one way. David can come out another, and I can come out a third, and we may all be right.
Yeah,
because there's no logic to Trump's diplomatic approach other than the logic of unpredictability. And I think he really believes that this, as you would put it, freaks people out. It freaks diplomats out. And many of those I met are freaked out because they've never quite encountered something like this. I mean, this is sort of a unique situation, right? Where you really are dealing with someone who can change his mind in 2 minutes, depending upon the last person you spoke to. Could this lead in some way to suspension of the election? Perhaps. I'm not sure, though, that declaring martial law because of the war, I'm not sure that would work. my bet is if the elections is suspended, it's going to be because of claims that the election's rigged and possible foreign intervention in the election. I mean, that could work in a number of ways. That Trump can issue executive orders by which he literally seizes the voting boxes. He can, for example, more or less insist that certain classes of voters not vote or not be allowed to vote. Not only immigrants, but people without driver's licenses, birth certificates, this stuff. That's a real possibility. And if enough people get excluded from voting, he may not even have to suspend the election. He may just win. And this is increased by this is, I think, another sort of variable that should be considered. Midterm elections, usually the vote is low. And that benefits Republicans. It always benefits elites, right? And if the vote is low to begin with, if our people don't come out, and I don't care if Daffy Duck is running, whoever comes up against a Republican candidate, I think has to be supported. I really think one of the important things, I mean, you have a particular line, a particular audience to the radical community, and that's a good thing. And I appreciate the chance to talk in this way. I think every American election is the lesser of the two evils. I don't think you get away with that. I mean, even Franklin Delano Roosevelt, you can come up with various criticisms about how he dealt with segregation or Japanese Americans living in the country. I mean, there are various things to come up with.
Sure.
So I think we're stuck with that.
Can I follow up here, David? When you said that the only logic of Trump's foreign policy, and that could apply to the domestic policy as well, is unpredictability. Is there not a sort of through line here in almost everything that he has tried to accomplish? And that is that, well, you can put it two ways. One is that the only form of power that is deserving of any respect, whether by friend or foe, is military power. That's, that power, as it dissipates into authority, is really useless. That power expressed as force is really the key to it. Okay, that's one way to put it. The other is that reciprocity is for dummies and weaklings. That really what one seeks is dominance. So in that sense, there seems to be a I'm not sure there's a logic there, but there is a sort of a narrative through line through his career. So is that, I mean, instead of...
I think that's a very good point. It's sort of goes back, to the Greeks, to Thucydides. The strong do what they will, and the weak suffer what they must. And I think he believes that. And I think there is one other thing that I forgot with the unpredictability. There's one thing that's predictable. And I hate to say it, it's corruption. That is predictable. He wants to make sure that his family businesses benefit from everything he does.
Yeah.
There was an article in the Times, which I completely believe, that his two kids just went into a business that's tied to the Defense Department, which brings in another $1 billion. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
I
This is
mean,
the Trumpism.
this is the worst thing since Warren Harding, with regard to corruption, the Tito scandal.
Right.
I read in the Times. I mean, this I have no greater insight than you do, that his family has made something like $60 billion since he's been in power the second time. I mean, you don't really know what to say here. With regard to the power thing, I think that's completely right. But again, it's unpredictable because power relations shift. To take it, though, in terms of what we can say, and perhaps what's somewhat of a different take on the Middle East and on NATO, if you think that there are two major forces now that are working with the United States in the Middle East, one is obviously Israel, which is our proxy, but the other has been very quiet, and that's Saudi Arabia, who actually gets more foreign aid than Israel does. Is not usually known. So Saudi Arabia stepped out of this. And since Iran is a Shiite country and Saudi Arabia is Sunni, I'm sure it's quite happy to let it be blown to bits. But if one considers this now from the United States standpoint, the issue would be, following your point, to make Israel the hegemonic power in the region. So we think of who are the rivals, right? Jordan and Egypt, they're making deals already with Israel. It's basically diplomatic relations between them. The Gulf states, who are doing probably more business with Israel than anybody else. What else we got? Syria is a mess. It's no longer an issue. Iraq is still working itself out of the close to genocide that was perpetrated by Bush. It's like a third of the country was either killed, sent into exile, or wounded. So that's not an issue. The only place that's Lebanon is barely a state at this point, a sovereign state. So the only real rival to Israel is Iran. I mean, I think that's the geopolitical way to look at this. Trump works, I think, also on a very simple level. It's sort of one-on-one. Everything's one-on-one. So you think of NATO, or you think of the trade policy. He wants to knock apart NATO. I mean, that seems pretty clear.
Right.
Or at least weaken it radically. That will help Putin, and it will hopefully send some more cash down into the coffers of our president. But I think there's something else. Instead of dealing with NATO or the EU as a group of nations, I think what he wants to do is deal with all nations one-to-one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we may not be that much stronger than NATO or a united Europe. Outside of China, though, we're probably stronger than anybody else. And I think the argument is, following your point, just ratchet up the pressure and make the best deal possible. The hassle with this is that when you bring in supply chains and all the stuff you guys know better than I do, perhaps you think of a car. A car is not made by one-to-one deals, right? You've got hundreds of parts made in different by different nations in the world. So this becomes a complete mess. And that I think is but that's the thinking of the Trump regime.
What, you talk a little bit just about, you were in Vienna recently at a conference. Um, what's going on in Europe with respect? How are they viewing Trump and their challenges with, I'll say loosely, diplomacy or deal making on that one-to-one basis? I mean, do they recognize that, or are they? It seems to me that
Yeah,
they do.
I think they do. And I think, I mean, within the EU and within NATO, of course, there's a lot of competition over whose interests are dominant. Is it Germany and Merz, or is it France and Macron, or is it I don't know, the more or less fascist groups, fascist nations like Italy and Hungary. So there's a lot of competition there. But having said that, I think with regard to NATO, they're pretty clear that they can't count on the United States anymore, at least from what I gather. And there's an enormous amount of money, I mean, billions, that are pouring into a common cyber defense system and to national defense, basically, for each nation. In the lead is probably Poland, which makes sense if you think about it. Yeah. But yeah, they're very worried. And even a deal in Ukraine, it's not from what I can see anyway, the be all and the end all. It seems to me that, and I've been criticized for that, because from the beginning of the war, my position was that we just got to sue for peace on some terms.
Sure.
It's too much for the Ukrainian people to bear. It seems now, and I said probably there's going to have to be territorial concessions. The issue is not, I think now, is no longer the territorial concessions, but how much. And I'm pretty sure that the thing to watch and the thing we have to judge is, will those territorial concessions leave Ukraine a sovereign state or no?
Oh, wow.
Right? Because it's throwing debt to the United States. But not only that, there's often this identification of the treatment of Putin in vis-a-vis Ukraine with that of Hitler in Munich in 1938. If you remember, the issue, the practical issue, was not simply making the peace. The practical issue that led to war was that Hitler gobbled up the rest of Czechoslovakia. And that I can see happening here. Yeah. And from what I understand, the Baltic states are in a complete tizzy.
It might be.
Understandably.
Yeah. David, do you want to follow up on that?
Really quick. Well, maybe not quickly. But it doesn't seem like that suing for peace at this point, even with territorial concessions, is something that Zelensky's interested in at all. And I just was reading that he's going to be sharing anti-drone technology with the U.S. with respect to Iran. Now, there's a guy I follow on Facebook who's got a quip, Daryl Scott, right? Who says, history don't love nobody. And
loves the winner.
Well, maybe.
Or the loser if you're in the United States, like
But
Yeah.
with respect to Zelensky, I mean, I recognize he's in a tough spot here. But is that going to aid? I mean, siding with, you understand what my question is, right?
Yeah.
Siding with he fought a war over the issue of sovereignty, and now he's assisting in the
That's right. And
destruction of sovereignty of another nation. And I know they had their tense moments or whatever. Do you have?
you could say that.
Yeah.
Sort of, in Ukraine. And no, I guess it's important to state it. I mean, there were about 3 million people who died in this enforced famine in the 30s. They still remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the deal of handing over Crimea, that's not exactly a beloved moment either.
True. But coming up to with respect to Iran, is there anything else to? How do you see Iran, the invasion of Iran, or the attack connected to Ukraine? I mean, does he have any wiggle room here? Can he make a deal with Putin under such circumstances?
I think the way this thing has been phrased or framed is somewhat, I don't want to say naive because it sounds arrogant, but it's much too oversimplified. Zelensky, for all his faults or whatever the faults, is going to be sooner or later running for re-election. Now he's got to convince his constituency that they've gone through the complete destruction of that country for some reason. And that's got to play a role in what he's doing. Secondly, I think the retention of sovereignty is real. I mean, that's one can easily say, well, go into the negotiation, give them everything they want. They'll stop the bombing, but they'll take over your country. Yeah, I mean, you can't expect that from them.
Right.
By the same token, though, there's a thing here with Putin that I think has to be explained, which is the following. The first thing is for his forces, he's taken a few 100,000 people out of the prisons to fight. Now, if he makes peace like that, what are you going to do with these people? You have to amnesty them. You're basically going to have 300,000, whatever the amount is, criminals running around Russia. That's one. The second, the amount of resources lost in this enterprise, he has to bring home something to show that it's worth it, because he's being pressured from the right, not from the left. The people who are really pressuring him are the military. You saw that he removed some of his what do you call it, the chiefs of staff, basically.
They want him to just go in there and annihilate the place.
Yeah. So I mean, and Putin doesn't. Putin is also, scared of external retaliation. That Trump completely took off, or that Trump radically weakened the sanctions, is almost unbelievable, because that gave. I mean, you couldn't have given Putin a bigger present than that.
Well, here, okay, David, I'm gonna. Okay, here we. This is all right. I started out by saying, well, there's a certain rationality here in Trump's policy, right? There's this through line. Now I want to go the opposite way and ask you about the bilateralism. Okay, to me, looking at what the United States was able to accomplish by establishing this open door world post World War II through, the general agreement on tariffs, through the monetary system and so forth, was pretty extraordinary. I mean, it did lead to amazing economic growth and development, for that matter. Okay, so is there some logic that I just cannot grasp to this bilateral approach to every question, whether diplomatic in the largest sense or economic in a narrow sense? And that leads me to the other thing, or two other things, how the tariffs fit in with that logic, if there is a logic, and what in the world is at stake in Trump's relationship to Russia, to Putin. What is going on there? I mean, I just can't go with the conspiracy theories. So what is Trump thinking here?
Thinking is a big word. Yeah. I mean, it depends.
It's only 2 syllables.
It depends if you want to be sort of kind or if you want to blast him. If you want to be kind, he wants to set up at least a sotto voce alliance with Russia against China. I mean, that sort of would make sense, except that Russia is also drawing close to China. In other words, Russia is the variable here. It seems that the BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and known as BRICS, it seems that that's functioning in the breach.
Yeah.
But it's still possible. I mean, they need three or four countries out of that: India, China, Russia, and you're ready to rock. I mean, that is a strong alliance. I would now, if I were Trump, I would be going crazy trying to set up divisions between these three, which he's not doing, because this tariff policy is actually weakening Europe, strengthening Russia, and he's already lost the tariff fight with China. So the logic, I think there's the original logic was we break them apart, we take on each country, we basically exert our power and our will over each individual country, and we move on from there. We become the hegemon once again. But that didn't work. So I don't know where one is left here. I'm supposed to go to Lisbon for the Mafra dialogues, where they're going to be asking similar questions. And on this level, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I know this much, though. And this is a bitter pill for people of the left to swallow. We have to defend NATO.
Oh.
I think. We underestimated the imperialist ambitions of Russia, I think, in the region. And I don't see any alternative to that.
Well,
Even sorry, Jim. Even to check the United States' power, because it seems to me one can no longer talk about the West as a unified actor, right? So the question is, one of the questions is, who's going to check the power of the United States? And I think, okay, you can say China, but that's not exactly what I think most of us want. There's only one player left. That's NATO.
David, did you want to?
Sorry.
No, okay. So I think you're onto something here with NATO. But what I see happening is what bifurcation right now. Trump wants to walk away, and everything he's done since he took office a year ago seems to suggest that, or actually enacted. Yeah. But what I see happening now, though, is a NATO without the United States. I know that sounds perfectly ridiculous, or did maybe 2 months ago, but I think that's what's happening.
I agree.
The France just got safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz because Iran, I guess, and Oman now have this agreement whereby France can go the southern route and Japan can go the northern, or vice versa.
Vice versa.
Yeah, and so it seems to me that those safe passages prove that you don't need the exertion of military power in the Gulf or in the Strait to reassert or reestablish free trade. And therefore, NATO without the United States begins to make perfect sense. Is that in line with what you're thinking about the?
Yeah. I mean, in a certain way, I agree. I also think they have no choice.
Yeah.
No meaningful choice. I think you're spot on with the United States leaving. I mean, whether it formally leaves or it doesn't leave, I haven't met anyone, last few meetings I've gone to, I haven't met anyone from Europe who believes you can count on the United States the way the way they did in the past.
Right.
This is bad. I mean, this is really, really bad.
But what are NATO's chances then against Russia? NATO without the United States?
Let me put it to you this way. They're pretty freaked out, as I said before. And they're trying to rush the creation of basically their national and international defense capabilities. I mean, they're spending a fortune, although not as much as we spent.
Ugh, Christ.
I mean, you guys saw the recent thing with the defense. Is it the Defense Department or the War Department? Whatever it is.
Defense spending, they still have to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
$1.5 trillion, right?
$1.5 trillion.
Yeah.
It's almost unimaginable.
And the cuts that it requires, even according to the proposed budget, are just remarkable. I mean, they're basically starving every social program that we know of that's not already funded, like Social Security, say. But Medicare, I mean, hello?
Yeah.
Good God.
He literally said it. He just said
He did it.
The states should handle this. The federal government's got the military to concern itself with, and that's it.
And that's it.
Can we splice that in, David? Can we splice that clip in over there?
Oh, in here now? I can try to find it, but let me.
Yeah, it would be it. I mean, it's always the case that there's a connection between domestic policy and foreign policy, right? I mean, one is irreducible to the other, but there's a connection that one has to take seriously. And I mean, what seems clear is that this kind of foreign policy strengthens the presidency.
It always has historically, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the one thing I think is interesting, though, is Trump, I think, was counting on the type of at least initial radical support from the populace, that occurred with Iraq and Afghanistan and yet even Vietnam. And he didn't get it this time.
Right.
Yeah.
No Venezuela. No.
No. I mean, sort of none of it. I said that we may have been mistaken about NATO, and I think we were. But one thing I think the left has not gotten enough credit for, and the 60s hasn't gotten enough credit for, is that what happened was a fundamental question of the way foreign policy was carried on.
Yeah.
It used to be prior to Vietnam, we had the wise men, right, running foreign policy in a little circle. And it's the experts who knew, and the rest of us, just shut up and pick up the gun. And I think Vietnam changed that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think populists got involved, and that was a real democratic moment, democratizing moment.
I think that moment is marked by A, the volunteer army or military, and B, the Trilateral Commission, which announced to the world that there was too much democracy happening here. We have to figure out a way of returning to those wise men. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Ooh. Here we go.
Oh, well done, David. Except we can't hear him.
Look at him. I mean, look at the way he holds himself. It's as if he's doing a caricature of the guy who impersonates him at Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. We're doing my friend John Ehrenberg, who David knows, I would think.
I've read him.
Yeah. And Jim, I'm not sure, but John and I are doing an anti-project 2025. Yeah, I hope, maybe when this comes out, we can talk about it.
Sure.
But in a certain way, it's all too formal, I don't know how to put it. I think any of the three of us can figure out the trends, that underpin Trumpism, right? The class-based, the motivating ideology, so on and so forth, if there is one. The thing I can't get my head around is there's a woman in my building, the nicest person you want to meet. She was a school teacher, kind, intelligent. She loves Trump. Yeah. How is that possible? Forgetting now the question of politics. I mean,
right.
Just bracketing that, even if you don't know anything about politics at all.
To say, I still say, you grew up or you were around in the tri-state area from the late 70s onward, and you watched any news that ever, Chuck Scarborough and remember those guys, you have a physical revulsion to Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean, he was a buffoon before buffoons were buffoons. It just, who could like this guy? And he rode that, right? I mean, that was his thing. He was like this, the bad, whatever, money.
Bad boy.
All this stuff with the generals and Atlantic City. I mean, and the tax abatements and everything about this guy was just
everything
dreadful.
The women, that's, for example, one of the things I really don't get.
Right.
You're an intelligent woman, like this woman in my building. Right. Just the way he talks about women, or let alone treats them. I mean, what happened to Stormy Daniels?
Right.
And these various rape charges that he had
with 12-year-old girl. I mean, it's as bad as you can possibly imagine, and worse because you don't even know half the stuff they didn't record.
Right.
Like pictures.
But then you see stuff like putting forward a photo of the Obamas as apes.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that? Especially a president who talks this way.
Yes.
I mean, and
But I
then he
think-
compares himself to Churchill.
But okay, but I guess here maybe the thing to do is let's dig down here. Let's drill down on this nice lady in your building. How old is she? She's obviously white.
About 70.
Okay. And she's a school teacher, right? Is she single? Was she married?
Widow.
Okay. My sense of Trump is that one of the reasons that good, kind people, women, who are good and kind and who are educated as well, still have a stake in somebody like this, and not, quite apart from like being attracted to bad boys, but a lot of women still have on rational grounds, a stake in male supremacy, because it does protect them from the dangers of a world that has actually become more dangerous in the last 50 years, for women as well as men, for God's sake. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have seen incredible. Well, you've seen the same things I have. These articles by incredibly intelligent, well-educated women in magazines like Compact and Unheard and all the rest of these places that say what we need is real patriarchy, where men take responsibility for families. They are able to commit, right? To commit to marriage, commit to child rearing. These guys, they're not hedonists. They know their limits. They pay their debts. They go to work, and by God, they pay child support if necessary. You know what I mean? So
Interesting.
it does make sense if that one thing seems to be at the core of everything else, and everything else is like a spoke.
Maybe so. I mean, it is, of course, the big division between Trump's people and Democratic Party supporters is actually education.
Yeah.
Levels of education. And the interesting thing is, at least for me, I often wind up in these discussions of foreign policy, the doctors or wherever. And nobody can tell me what it is that he's actually done that makes him worthy of support. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, Max Weber, who sort of developed the idea of charisma, once said that basically charisma is neutral. It has no norm. You can have Hitler being charismatic, or you can have Martin Luther King. And charisma lies in the eyes of the beholder, and I guess Trump has that for his beholders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
it's certainly something he's trying to play on in terms of foreign policy.
yeah. Well, that's that one-on-one thing you were talking about. Yes, if I can be in the room, why, I'll be persuasive, because my persona is in and of itself persuasive. Yeah.
What's amazing, though, I'm sorry.
I think he's also cunning enough, this guy, to know that he doesn't have the abilities of a leader, of a politician, really, but he does understand somehow that he embodies a constituency. He doesn't lead them. He doesn't try to, I didn't even know how to put it. He reminds me of William Jennings Bryan in this sense, kind of a dolt, kind of a doofus, kind of a buffoon, as David was saying. And yet he somehow enacts what people are feeling, their anger, their fear, their especially their feelings of being overwhelmed by the world, being victimized, and yet at the same time, exclaiming and denouncing it. So, God,
there is a kind of, to sort of wrap up the foreign policy thing. What I think is remarkable is he hasn't had any success at all. I mean, for all this going back and forth and dumping one crisis on the other, I mean, Ukraine has been, I mean, in a certain way, not only an embarrassment, but there's almost no way that the United States national interests can be served. The Iran thing, I mean, it's almost like he's admitted himself he doesn't know what he wants,
Right.
right? The Israel business, I mean, one thing, another thing that I think we were led astray on. You remember there was after Gaza, there was this whole argument: oh, the United States and Israel are drawing apart, right? There's this chasm that's opened among Israelis or the Israeli nation and the United States. There's a chasm that's opened in Israel. It's not so. I
But
mean,
there is a huge division amongst American Jews, wouldn't you say, though? I mean, there's
I
that.
mean, I'm very skeptical about this, to be honest. In reality, from what I can see, is whenever Israel is really threatened, October 6th, and now with the bombing of Iran, I think the Jewish community is pretty solid.
David, what do you think?
Not this Jew, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm-
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I do think that there are some people some Jews that this is pushed just right out of any kind of support for Zion, the idea of Zionism or Israel itself. I think some people came to, it was sort of a come to Jesus moment, if you use that. But I mean, you could be right, Steve. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, politicians, and this was actually one of the questions I wanted to kind of get to. It seems like the politicians are unrattled by any of this. They're going to continue to. There's maybe one or two. Sanders, AOC have made statements about not. Well, Sanders actually introduced legislation, and there's a handful
Right.
of people who want to cut off
That's certainly true.
military aid, but they represent what, like 8% of the entire legislature, right? So there's that. I don't know that this is we'll have to see what happens in the midterms, if we have them.
I don't think I would be very surprised if this were the thing that caused him to lose.
mean-
That the
So
lack of
Let me ask you about there was a postmortem on the election, and they found that I mean, this was something that was data driven, right? It was the Gaza issue was a real reason why a certain Democratic candidates lost. I mean, it was
Yeah.
no, I'm talking about the Jewish community. I'm sure they were split, right? But they're split because at this point Israel is really showing its might. I mean, this was a pretty barbarous action, and but I wonder how they felt on October 6th.
But Steve, what do you make of the majority of Jewish voters in New York City voted for Mamdani? So
That makes perfect sense.
what do we make of that?
That I think makes
Yeah. Why?
Jewish voters in New York and in the big cities, they're supportive, I'm sure, of figures like Mamdani, who is doing an amazing job. From what I've seen, I don't know that much about local politics, but from what I see from the outside, let me take this though back now for a moment with
Sure.
Israel and even the idea of a second state, which I certainly am supportive of, so on. Let's say now we do have a second state, or that the discussion begins for real. We have now, as against when Israel was formed, somewhere between 300 and 450,000 called settlers and the Orthodox opposition. They're armed, a lot of them. There used to be a sincere belief Jew doesn't shoot on Jew. I don't know if we can take that assumption anymore. For real, I can imagine the creation of either a single state or a bi-state, a binational state, a binational state or two states. I could see the possibility of civil war on the Israeli side. However, I can also see it on the Palestinian side. Hamas and Fatah have been engaging in a semi-Cold War since Hamas was formed, with the help of Israel, ironically. And no matter which way it goes, we'll have a fifth column in all three states, unless I'm completely off on this.
Right.
I mean, it seems to me this is something that's completely it's not even part of the discussion. And I think it has to be.
How does it play out then, though? As far as I can tell, the two-state solution is dead. But
it better not be, because I don't see a one-state solution either. I mean, basically what you would be asking Israelis to do with a one-state solution, I mean, just getting to the cutting to the chase. You're asking them to turn themselves from a majority in a Jewish state to a minority in a binational state.
right. No, I'm not saying that the one
no,
state
no.
solution
Yeah.
yeah. As far as I can tell, the one state solution is the only thing that's left. The problem is disposing, if you will, of the population of Gaza and the West Bank. But there seem to be tentative plans on the table for doing that.
Yeah, but I don't think we have the tentative plans we like.
No, I'm not saying that either. No.
And I mean, this is a real, to me at this point, I think there has to be some kind of international intervention in this. You have a kind of tribalism that's, this has devolved into kind of tribalism. It's stressed.
Yeah, the West Bank is is turned into, they can't use the excuse of Hamas there. And it's the cleanest example of what the intention is. This is the Klan. I'm sorry. They're the Klan. It's state protect terrorism. And, something has to be, some limits have to be put on this. And it seems to me, I don't know, this is why I don't know what to say about a one or two state solution, because you can't, the language about dealing with the West Bank problem seems to me to be very tepid and just not serious. Like they did.
There's no sanctioning force. There's no agent to basically provide an institutional, to put it this way, place power behind the command.
Right.
This is what the United States used to be able to do, or at least purported to. Yeah.
And it seems to me in the Middle East, the winner in this is Israel.
Yeah. Looks like it.
It's not the United States. It really is Israel for precisely this reason. They're now in the position to block anything for a long time. And we're sitting here, we don't even know what is possible any longer.
Right.
Right. That's the testament of being in a very weak position. We can't put forward an agenda.
Do we have any idea what the Israelis intend for the population of Gaza, which is now basically intense? I mean,
if they had a place to take them and to expel them, I'm sure they would. The hassle there, I think, for them, and I'm not sure how you overcome that either. Jordan already has an enormous Palestinian community. And you go back 30 years, there was actually a civil war between Palestinian refugees and the Jordanian authorities. So Jordan, these people don't have that short a memory. Right. So to take them, and with regard to Egypt, which would be the other way to go, they would obviously be scared of having, 2 million people coming into their country and completely messing up their economy. Yeah. 80% of their economy is the military. So this is very sad stuff, but I think we have to look in the abyss if we're ever going to come up with any kind of meaningful solution.
Except everywhere we look, that's what we're looking at is the abyss. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I fully expect to hear on Monday morning or Sunday night that, yeah, we got boots on the ground. I mean,
that's very possible. I don't think you're exaggerating at all. I was in Iran 3 or 4 times, and it was such a beautiful country. Just from experiences, people were warm and very friendly, extremely polite. And cities like Isfahan, where the regime, of course, put its
enrichment stuff.
Yeah. That's a world historical site, Isfahan. It's one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen. And, it's not we really have to recognize this is not a nice regime. The people on the ultra left have said, well, we have to defend the regime. I don't think so. This is an awful situation that women, minorities, the secular community, intellectuals, like yourselves. This is really a horrible regime. And yet, even as with Iraq, if you bomb the hell out of a country, you can't expect some immediate rising of the population.
No.
It's just crazy.
Well, let me ask you about over the past couple of years when I've seen news stories about Iran, I got this sense that, what's the old line from Lenin about revolutions happening in a week? Or sometimes, right? Sorry to mangle that, but sometimes
the basic thrust is right.
Yeah. But I got the sense from reading these stories, and this is just coming from the Times and just regular news outlets in the United States, is that there were like signs of liberalization in Iran. And that to whatever extent that was true, which I do think that they were accurate, this has obviously destroyed all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Yeah, because I mean, the reports are that, at least some are that, the Iranians are, they're getting behind the regime
Yeah.
to a large extent. This is a flag,
This is what happened in Iraq also.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Which and Israel is descending into fascistic madness, right? Maybe not all at once and not everybody, but it's those are the trajectories I think that we're seeing, and now it's going to just solidify.
I think there's something to that. I think we're going to. I mean, the check on Israel is Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Yeah, for better or worse. And perhaps the pressure exerted, the economic pressures exerted by the Gulf states and literally trade partners. Something like Dubai it's unbelievable. You look at that little territory; it's amazing, the construction and so on. But it seems to me that at the end of the day, the United States is going to be exerting its pressure indirectly and sort of trying to balance Saudi Arabia and Israel. And perhaps you can see a new alliance emerge. It's possible. Yeah.
Wow.
Again, sort of voce. It doesn't have to be up front. But it is interesting how the Sunni nations, Arab nations, have stayed out of this.
But your verdict on this then would be that no matter how well, actually, no matter how whether boots on the ground in Iran placed there by the United States, one way or another, the United States is the loser
Yes.
in what will come of this. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any. I mean, it's hard to become a winner if you don't know what you want. It's, I mean, really. I mean, it's unclear whether we want, whether Trump wants regime change. I mean, he'd like it, but I don't know if he'll get it. A change in leadership, which is possible, or just sort of a total weakening of Iran and getting rid of the uranium enrichment programs, which I don't think he's going to get. So there's there's a kind of mission creep, and you don't know where you're creeping, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And you would think after the Iraq experience, policymakers would be more cognizant of this stuff.
They're all gone. I mean,
well, that's true. That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Not John Bolton.
Right.
Right.
He's still pitching there, huh?
He's still pitching. Yeah.
I just looked up on Facebook. He just wrote something in the New York Times. His insane. I mean, it's really just everything we just said. He's verbalizing.
Let's go for it. Yeah.
It used to be that you could tell the conservatives from the lunatics. And now that line has become more blurry than in the 30s, anytime since the 30s, where really the line between fascists and conservatives was so blurry, there was no problem at all. And I mean, where is the moderate Republican? Where's the Everett Dirksen?
How about George Will? He's still writing.
George Will, yeah. But he's sort of a lonely voice.
He gets worse by the day too. I mean, my God.
I mean, it's very hard if you identify with the constituency and the constituency's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that party by the gonads. I mean, they're all terrified. I think they're in there, and they, what I was listening to I can't remember who, some Democrat saying, these people, what they say behind the scenes is they know it's insane, but they're just chicken shit, and they will not pull away
Yeah.
from Trumpism.
Yeah.
And
And I mean,
that
you could
doesn't-
think back again to the 30s for this stuff.
that's where I think the closest real like cultural fascism has
Yeah.
actually taken place, is like in that dynamic,
Yeah.
that
And I think we have to really support attempts to sort of set up some or to push an anti-fascist resistance. No King's marches were great. I mean,
I agree. I agree.
that really was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Was it the one from in Manhattan? And it was a great spirit. And, yeah, you were there too. Okay,
Sure.
pity I didn't see it. We could have had a hot dog or something. But it was a great spirit. I mean,
It was
Yeah.
great.
but we've got to translate that somehow.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think what's happening, and it's not even overdue. It's just something that's always waiting, and that is that the majority of the American people really do believe that they have these inalienable rights. And when somebody threatens them, especially a thug like Stephen Miller, they're willing to say, "No, you can't do that." And look what happened in Minneapolis. I mean, my God, I mean, nobody planned that, and yet they not only pushed those people back, they defeated those fascist thugs who came in and invaded their city. I mean, it's remarkable. And they did it on the grounds of, no, we have this thing called the founding. We're going to stand by those principles. And that, I mean, that to me is like conservatism become radicalism. And it's
Yeah.
really crucial, I think.
I mean, I guess the key is that the right, the whole idea of rights was always for the disenfranchised and the exploited. I mean, if you're in power, you don't need rights. It's if you're out of power, and I think
Exactly.
they saw that.
Yeah.
These Enlightenment figures.
if there were only a politician who could vocalize this stuff clearly on our side, right?
Bernie,
Right.
come on.
Bring,
I would push him in, but he's fucking old.
Oh, yeah. No, you
hey,
can't.
watch the age. Watch the age.
Yeah.
But you're right.
No, it's just, this isn't rocket science, right? We've seen over and over and over again. It's like if you clearly articulate something, it catches on. And especially in the area of like social democracy, people, and I think there was an element of Trump's rap which appealed to people's sense of this, fairness, that he
Exactly.
kept saying it's unfair what's happening to the United States. We keep getting screwed by this one and that one. And
Yeah.
you don't make enough money and whatever. I mean, you don't have to be a political scientist to recognize you're getting fucked.
Right.
Uh,
Mamdani, I think, is a perfect example of that. Like
That's
he
the
never
kind
made-
of That's
I
the
mean-
kind of politician I think we have to be looking for.
but he was honest from day one. Yes, I'm a democratic socialist. I come out of DSA. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We know you need it. We know you like it. We're going to do it. I mean,
and he has like something that a lot of them don't, which is just basic skills,
yes.
fielding questions and
social media.
social.
Yeah.
This is how he became as popular as he did. No, I mean, there are some young people around, Buttigieg, look up his father.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I met that guy at a conference.
Yeah.
Well, very
he
smart
used to
dude.
come to, he was the great scholar of Gramsci.
Gramsci.
Yeah. I got his 3 volumes right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. And when I was on Social Text, which was journal years ago, And he was one of the, he used to bring Petey to meetings. You know. Yeah, we had quite a group there. And that's one of the things that many people remember in the West. In fact, he was also on board. And the last time I saw him, it's not amazing what happened to Petey. Here he is.
I'm less impressed with him, but I would at this point I'd take anybody.
Yes, I think
He's
we
an
gotta
old-fashioned
take-
corporate liberal is what he is.
Yeah.
I think at this point we have to take anybody. It's the Daffy Duck syndrome.
Yeah, I'd vote for the guy. I mean, I'd vote for
Oh, yeah.
anybody. You know, I mean,
Anybody.
Yeah.
Because this is, I mean, the importance of you fellows doing these kind of shows is it's really important to raise the danger level.
yeah.
I never, David knows, I never was someone into exaggerating, you know, the sky is falling, but this is really bad.
This is very bad. I
This
think
is
he
really
used the
bad.
word abyss many
Yeah.
times today, and I think that's the right word. We are staring into it.
Yeah. And we better figure out a way to sort of not fall into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's
All right. Well, we could end on that note if you want.
Sure.
I think so.
What, we got a more positive note to end on?
No, there's
No, I think we should, you know, encourage people for an anti-fascist popular front.
yes.
Go out and demonstrate. I would even go for massive civil disobedience.
How about a general strike?
Yeah.
That I don't think would work.
Really.
I think it would get some attention. I'll tell you that.
You couldn't get it to happen, or you couldn't. It wouldn't be effective.
I don't think you'd get it to happen, and I don't think well, it might be effective if it happened. That's true. Yeah,
No,
but I mean, maybe you know, if this is something where I think the decision has to be made by people on the ground. You know, whether it's, I mean, I think we have to defer in some way to them, and then roll. You know, they'll roll the dice, and we have to back them up. Because I don't know that it'll work. Do you think of it?
Right.
You know, I mean, with us, it's just a guess. Is that the tack that should we do straight civil disobedience like Martin Luther King, or et cetera, or just non-cooperation? Yeah. But I think there are forces. I would agree with you guys. There are forces that are in opposition, and we shouldn't
A
underestimate.
majority. Oh, I mean, the very solid, if not vast majorities, are against everything that Trump stands for now, and including his strongest issue going in, the economy and immigration. Everybody is like, enough already. I mean, and 60% of
gotta
the
make-
people are against this war.
Yeah. We just got, we have to make sure that election goes through.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of I think the line here should be against imperialism, but also in defense of the republic and in defense of social economic equality. I think
Absolutely.
it's the old popular front, you know, from the 30s. And it's interesting that social democracy is now being raised again
Yeah.
as an issue because it's the only response to this stuff.
Well, capitalism has expired as far as I can tell. So yeah, we got to come up with something to replace it.
Exactly. Or at least mitigate its worst aspects.
Right. And I think that's what Mamdani has been saying, but
Yeah.
also Bernie's been saying for a long, long time now. So
You don't have to put this in the show if you don't want to, but I was on a panel with
We are
Bernie
recording, by the way.
when the Socialist Scholars Conference existed. It must have been, I don't know, at a minimum 40 years ago, maybe even 50. It was saying, I remember him saying exactly the same thing he's saying now. But
Yeah.
it shows the
Yeah.
relevance of these issues that remain unresolved and unfulfilled and that people want, whether it's healthcare or, sorry, let's say something then.
I met Bernie Sanders when he was the mayor of Vermont.
Yeah, there you go.
In my socialist summer camp, we took a trip to Burlington and we went and visited with him. We were standing in his office and it was literally his 2016 pitch. And this was 85, I guess. And when I was at home a few years later, I was watching C-SPAN and there he is in Congress with longer hair.
Insane. But it shows, it shows serious commitment and a clarity about what the country needs. And we need more people like that.
Yeah.
No question about it.
We know that.
I think, let's see, we've gone on for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's too long for a show.
Well, but David can edit it down, right?
David should, I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd take. Well, let's, we can talk about it. I tell you, let's say goodbye here and then stick around for a moment.
Okay.
Thank you for everybody.
Thank you.